Chef Peterson will now demonstrate the classic Genoise recipe, which will yield 1 half-sheet pan. Ingredients include 6 ounces cake flour, 7 whole eggs, 6 ounces granulated sugar, and 1 ounce of melted unsalted butter is optional.
Today we're going to make a classic Genoise. And for classic Genoise, it's just 4 basic ingredients. We have some fresh eggs, we have granulated sugar, cake flour, and butter. Melted butter, it's not very warm. You want to just melt it just enough to where it's a little bit fluent here. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and sift the flour so it's ready for my application. It's important to sift the flour because as we fold it into the whipped eggs, the eggs are very fragile, and you want to make sure you don't have to over-mix it to get any lumps out in order to incorporate the ingredients properly. So it's very important that the flour is sifted and ready to go. I have my flour sifted. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to combine the eggs and the sugar into the mixing bowl. And what we need to do in order to mix this properly, we're going to mix it by hand on top of a double boiler and bring the egg and sugar mixture up to about 100 degrees. That ensures that the egg mixture whips up easier. As you warm the eggs up, the eggs become more pliable, and therefore they will hold more air, and you get more volume in your classic Genoise. So let me go ahead and get this on the double boiler, and I can warm it up. Now it's very important that you keep stirring the egg mixture while it's on top of the double boiler. You don't want the eggs to turn into scrambled eggs. And for this small mixture, it takes very little time for the eggs to warm up. So it's very important that you not stop stirring at any point. Anytime you stop stirring for a little bit, it's very possible that you're going to scramble your eggs, and you do not want to do that. It takes a little time for it to heat up, but I have my pocket thermometer here, and I'm going to double check and make sure that my temperature is close to where it's supposed to be. You always take off your egg mixture off the double boiler when you check your temperature, so to ensure that you do not scramble your eggs. I'm going to take my mixture off the egg, and I'm going to double check. It takes a little bit more heat to get this up to 100 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little bit more heat on my double boiler. And I'm going to keep stirring to ensure that I do not scramble my eggs. This is a double boiler. You can also do this in a bain-marie, which is basically a heating element with a lot of warm water in it that keeps the water at the same temperature all the time. And for bigger batches, that's what you will do. For a small batch, a double boiler like this works perfectly. I can feel the heat from my stove here, and I think we're going to get real close. I'm going to check it one more time just to make double sure before I put it on the mixer. Okay, we're very close to 100 degrees. I'm going to put it on just for one more second, and then we're going to go and whip it. Now my eggs is 100 degrees, and I'm ready to take it and put it on the machine and whip it. As we whip it, we want to make sure we triple in volume. We've got to whip it long enough that it triples in volume before we start adding our flour. And I'm ready to take it off the machine, or the double boiler right now. Take this. We're going to go ahead and whip this till it becomes triple in volume. Shouldn't take very long because we have warmed up our egg product, so it should take very little time. This will probably take about 3 to 5 minutes to whip up. In the meantime, clean up a little bit. And I have my flour here ready to go. As you can see now, the egg has tripled in volume, and now I'm ready to fold in my flour. You don't want to over-whip it. At this point, it's not going to come any farther up anyway. But it looks very good, and we're going to go ahead and take it off the machine. The eggs are nice and foamy, and now we're ready to fold in our flour. I'm going to have Christy help me fold in the flour, because it's very hard to fold in the flour and at the same time stir in the pot. So hold like this. There you go. So now we're folding flour. As you start putting in the flour, it is important that you keep adding flour a little bit at a time. You want to make sure you rotate the bowl so you get to the bottom, and keep stirring without getting any lumps in it. So this is 2 ways that we keep from getting any lumps in our mixture, is by sifting the flour and also stir it in very carefully all at once. You want to add flour, this, and as you can see, we already have a nice smooth mixture. But again, you want to be very careful to make sure that you always go to the bottom of the pot and make sure there's no lumps in. At this point, we're going to go ahead and add the butter. You add the butter kind of to the side of the bowl. You don't want it too hot, because if the butter is too hot, what can happen is it actually knocks out the air that we have created by whipping it. So at this point here, we're just going to go ahead and just fold everything in. Make sure you get to the bottom, and make sure there's no lumps in the mixture. I think it looks pretty good. We have a very nice smooth texture. There's no flour lumps in there. And I believe we are ready to put it in the sheet pan. Now, most of the times when you make cakes and other baked product, you will actually grease the sheet pan to make sure that it does not stick. However, because of the light texture of this, there's not a lot of structure in this cake, so it has nothing to hold on to. So therefore, we do not grease the sheet pan or grease the edges of the sheet pan here, because this gives the cake something to hold on to as it rises out of the pan. So in order for us to ensure that it does not collapse, you want to keep the sheet pan ungreased so that the cake has something to hold on to in during the baking process. Because of the air pockets we have trapped inside of the Genoise batter here, the air, as it hits the heat, will expand, and therefore it will rise. There's no leveling power except for just the air that we have put into the sheet here. As you can see, it's a very fluffy batter. For the few eggs we used, it's still a very pretty big batter. You very gently take an offset spatula and just spread it very gently. Always start from the middle to the corners. That way you do not have to mix it too much. The more you use your spatula, the more air you knock out of the Genoise. So you want to be very careful and just get it done as quickly as possible without knocking anything out of the Genoise. As you get it all done, in order to kind of straighten out a little bit, you just give it a couple of taps on the table that kind of straighten out the batter just a little bit. I can see I need to straighten out this edge over here a little bit. Make sure it's nice and even. And then we're going to go ahead and put it in a 350-degree oven. You don't want too hot an oven. Too hot an oven is going to make it pop up too fast, and then it will disappear. It'll deflate. So a 350 oven is all you need, and I have that ready to go right behind me here. So let's go ahead and put the Genoise in the oven. Now it's been about 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and take a look and see if our Genoise is done. Let's take a look in the oven. I believe we have a baked product right here. There is the baked genoise. Another good way is to see if a genoise is done. You just see how it bounces back, kind of spongy. And you can also take a look and just kind of pull. If it pulls from the side of the sheet pan, it's also ready to go. So there's two different ways that you can do it. Pull and see if the edge takes away from the sheet pan. But here you have a genoise that is baked perfectly and is ready to go. A well done classic genoise.